Julie Gauthier is a free diver, choreographer, dancer, and filmmaker, among other things. She was born on Réunion Island, an overseas French department surrounded by the Indian Ocean. Her father was a spearfisher, and her mother was a dance teacher. And she discovered free diving as a teenager, as a competitive sport. And by 2006, she broke the French female record for the deepest free dive, plunging unassisted to a depth of 65 meters, and then broke her own record, diving to 68 meters. And then she decided, we'll hear more about why and how this happened. She decided to stop diving competitively and to use her talents and her love of the ocean to take up an artistic career. She's been moved by a strong commitment to use her art to convey an ecological message. Her objective is to combine her artistry and diving experience to raise awareness about the ocean, showing its wild and amazing side, and always infusing her work with a poetic sensibility. Julie co-directed her first short film, Free Fall, in 2010 with her then husband, Guillaume Néry, also a champion freediver. Since then, she's directed or co-directed a number of other short films, including the 4 films we're showing this evening: Narcose from 2014, Ama, 2018, One Breath Around the World, made in 2019, and her most recent film, Narcisse, 2022, which is actually having its US premiere tonight. In addition to directing these films, Julie also appears on screen, whether as a free diver or, in the case of Ama and Narcisse, for example, as a dancer and performer. Gabri Christa will be joining Julie on stage in conversation. She's an associate professor of professional practice at Barnard College in the dance department, and she teaches courses in screen dance, modern dance, composition, yoga, and a seminar in dance and film. Gabri is also herself a choreographer, performer, and writer whose published works include writing on dance and film, as well as a filmmaker and curator. Her award-winning films include Sun and Sheila, starring Sheila Rowan, one of the founding dancers of Dance Theater of Haarlem, and Magdalena, a deeply personal account of her Dutch mother's experience with dementia. Gabri also founded and curates a film festival called Moving Body, Moving Image, which will focus on climate justice and the moving body on screen in its 2024 edition. She was born and raised in the Caribbean island nation of Curaçao, where she grew up swimming, diving, and snorkeling. So, as you can tell from this brief introduction, Gabri Christa has a great deal in common with Julie Gauthier and is as well an expert on dance and film, and this makes her a perfect interlocutor for our discussion this evening. So we're going to first show Narcose and Ama, and then we'll have a discussion between Julie and Gabri on stage, and then we will show afterwards One Breath Around the World and Narcisse, followed by continued discussion. We'll make room for questions from the audience at the end, so please be thinking about what you might want to ask. But before we start, I'm going to give a chance to Julie to say a few words to introduce her films, and would ask you to please join me in welcoming and thanking her for coming to be with us.
So thank you very much for being here with me. What else can I say now? It won't be long, just to let you know that when I first started making movies with my abilities to stay underwater, I was just intending to witness the beauty of it and the beauty of the feeling I had when I was underwater. And the more I was doing it, and the more I could see that people were really touched by what I was doing, I had very touched. I told myself, okay, I touch people in their heart and I create emotion, but then what do we do with this? And this is what made me come to I dedicate now my movies to bring attention on what's going on our planet, and as we have this attention, just try to have people come to action, but using beauty. We don't want anymore to see like we know that everything is going wrong, and we know how much damage we've done. I think now we need to focus on the beauty and just awake to what we all can do in our own level. And we are all responsible, and we can all do something about it just by, opening our heart and eyes to what's beautiful around us. So yeah, the first film we're gonna see, Narcose, is about Narcose effect. It's when the free divers reach over 90 meters depths, they are starting to have hallucination. And when Guillaume at that time was telling me about this hallucination, I thought it was really amazing to be able to tell the story about a free diver not as a performance, but as what was happening actually in his head. So, and it allows me to get really crazy and really creative about what I could show in that film. So I hope you enjoy.
So my name is Gabriel Christa, and we know who this is, and bravo, really. It's just so incredible to see the work. I've seen it. Ama is the work, the last work we saw, and at the time everybody was sending it to me. Like, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? I have a lot of questions, and I think I'm going to start with just some like logistical, technical things I'm very curious about with the last one, and just of asking your preparation time and also the preparation on figuring out how to film it, and the idea of the camera that danced with you, which we've talked about and I really love. But then when I watched it today, I was wondering, how did you deal with the shadows, and how was the process of figuring out the pool, the water, the light, the camera? If you can talk a little bit about that.
That's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions, I know. Take one. But just like the...
So the preparation for that movie, I had it in mind for 8 years. Because, as I said, my father was a spear fisherman and my mother a dancer. And then I started doing competitive free diving. And when I stopped, someone put a camera in my hand and I started doing movies. And at that time I understood, okay, movement underwater is really special. And I would love to bring both of my parents' passion into one. So use breathhold, filming, and dancing. But I was telling myself, okay, that could be wonderful to bring movement underwater. But what meaning should I give it? Because that's important, okay? When you do a project, it's just not only about being beautiful, and in dance, we all know that if you do a beautiful movement, if there's no intention into it, it's not as strong as it is. So it took me a long time to understand what I really wanted to dedicate this movie to. And also, it didn't exist at that time. There was like underwater movement I've been made in like half water, but what I really wanted to bring is to use the floor, the bottom, as on land, because this is what gives this strength to dance, to be able to use the floor. And mostly it had been done underwater. We always using apesanteur. And what's strong, I think, about this movie is first to use the floor, feel the weight, and then completely fly. And I've had dancers telling me that it's the dream of all dancers, being to jump and never come back. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that addresses like the question of or figuring out, because how to stay down as a person who swims and goes under the water myself. I was figuring out how you could be there, and if you had weights, right? So like, and how did you know how many weights you needed, and where did you put them? 'Cause you yeah.
So the more difficult, I mean, we all have been diving in a pool at 2 meters at least, and the most difficult part is to leave the surface. Okay, I chose to do this movie in Y40. It's the deepest pool in the world. It's in Italy, so there's several levels from 5 meters to 40 meters. There's a tunnel going to 40, and this movie had been shot at 10 meters, so I have time, you know. I leave the surface, I go down, and I have all the weight of the water on me. So I land down, and first thing I do, I empty my lungs a little bit, so I float less. I cheat a bit, of course. I have a kind of a weight belt, handmade corset I'm wearing under the dress, so I was able to be very grounded, and for the big jumps, I was just releasing it. I didn't have it.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, I think that sort of figured that out. And then the process with working with the camera, was the camera one person, one camera who went with you, but the camera was not a free diver?
No, the camera was a scuba diver, and Jacques Ballard had been with me for 13 years. We know each other perfectly. He knew how I move, and I really trust him. I knew that in this project, there were two projects. The choreography that I needed to do perfectly. So I had like 1 month of rehearsal and 1 month of just trying movements. For some shots, for all the beginning, it's really a set choreography. So I could tell, okay, this is where I want the camera. I really wanted the water to disappear. So at first, when you don't really realize, just only with the hair that you say, okay, she's underwater. And I guess, of course, because I'm here today talking about underwater movies. But a lot of people, they don't really understand, because I don't really make bubbles. So I don't know what I was saying.
We were talking about where the camera was,
Yeah.
and how you talked about how you were
Yeah.
saying the camera, and then the process of choreographing the camera.
Yeah.
And if we had
So I was repeating several times the same movements, and I could change my camera angles, but as I was always doing the same set of movements, we could move the camera, so it looks like it's one take, but of course it's not. And all the beginning, when it's very slow, it's choreographed, but then when it gets really active, it's all improv. And this is a improv from me, but also an improv from the cameraman.
Right.
That also he learned how to move around me, because usually scuba divers, when they film, they're really static. But I think it's something we learn together. It's like we need to give movement to what's happening in front of the camera, and give movement to the camera.
Yeah, that was, I just really love that. So I was wondering that. I want to briefly talk about the first film, and we can go back later and see the other two films that are also short. The films are epic. They're not that long, but they're epic. Like, it's so much in it. And in the first one, I just wanted to know a lot about the other, well, you had the animation in it at one point, which was beautiful. And some of the post-production, when he is stuck in the bubble, the moments of all the other dancers that came together first as the wedding guests. And again, these are just, maybe it's very boring for an audience, but I'm really curious, well, how did you get the chairs? How did you get down? Were they all free divers? The other people who were in the film, were they dancers?
For the wedding, the gremlins, it's really the first Narcose, the first vision Guillaume had when he reached 90 meters. And when he told me that, I said, oh my God, how am I going to put gremlins in my movie? So I was thinking about it, and I really love comics. And I should do a 2D animation about that. And then for the wedding, he said, "Oh, I saw us getting married, and I imagine underwater wedding." And this is all my friends, actually, free divers. That are experienced, and I told them, okay, I have something crazy to ask you. You just come with your dresses, shoes, and for men a tuxedo, and we're gonna make a wedding underwater. And this is all a friendship free diver projects. And then the dancers, I was really focusing about the beautiful bodies and movements, so I needed dancers and not free divers. So I approached a dance school and I asked dancers, okay, do you know how to swim? First, are you comfortable with water? And I told them to come at night, and I had just a small briefing about, okay, how to go down and how to hold your breath. And I mean, dancers, they know how to move the body, and even in the water, in another element, it just came so beautiful. And we have a slow motion camera also to give a bit more time, of course. But I love that that part of the movie, the dance thing, that came really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for that. I don't know how much time we have, so maybe I have a lot of questions, so I'm sure everybody has questions. If we
have time for a question in the
yeah.
public, maybe? Yeah?
Or I think you wanted to do them in the end, but we can do a question now. Yeah, go ahead.
If you have questions, please come up here because we're also recording, and so your sound will be picked up.
I love the movies. It's beautiful. When I was showing the trailer to my son earlier, he said, "Oh, how is she breathing underwater?" And I hadn't noticed. I was so focused on the beauty and the dance that I didn't realize that you don't have oxygen. So, my question: you just mentioned slow motion camera. And I was wondering in AMA if that was slow motion or if it's the
No,
real
there's
time.
no slow-mo in the dance movie.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
all
the
real
water
speed.
that makes the
Yes,
movement like
yes.
that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, I think it's that's thing.
Yeah, please come.
Thank you for your films. They're beautiful. I just have a question about the craziness that Guillaume was experiencing. I was wondering, is it just the depth of the water, or is it also maybe a combination of holding his breath for so long? Because in yoga, I'm a yoga instructor and I study yoga, and there's this term, it's called kumbhaka, and it's kind of like you hold your breath, and it's kind of like it's when you're doing pranayama, you're either holding it or it's all the way out. And I think in this case, it was when your exhalation is all the way to the end, and then you reach kind of like this emptiness. It's like this void, and that's when you meet like your true self. Like it's like so I was wondering if you have any thoughts about that, any connections to.
Yeah, deep free diving is really about, it's like a long meditation. It's about being inside your body and your feelings. And the more you go deep, the deepest you go into yourself. That's why I never experienced Narcose, because you have to go over 90 meters deep, because all the it's like you're having a shoot of a drug shoot. It's all the chemicals inside your body that is changing, actually, that is giving you hallucination. But all the way doing all the way down, you have this states that is also preparing this shoot of chemicals, or I don't really know what happened, but I think it's also too much CO2 that is building, and with the pressure, all different exchanges changing in the body, but you also are in a state of meditation, so it's really increasing that feeling. But over 90, we don't really see like strange, we don't have strange noises and visions and kind of things, but we can experience what you said. I mean, yeah, this feeling of, how do you call it?
Kumbhaka.
Kumbhaka.
Mhm.
I guess it has to deal with a lack of oxygen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a related question to just diving. So way back when I did my scuba diving certification, and we also had this preparation for when you would panic underwater, and that you cannot go up too fast because of all those things. So how do you do that with free diving?
We don't need to, we can go as fast as we can.
You can go as fast as you
Yeah,
can?
we don't stop. We don't need to stop. When you go up, there's no time to to wait,
Right.
and we have no problem because we don't breathe air under, so the gas exchange are not the same. So we can go fast.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know that about if you dive, that you have a whole protocol about how fast you can go up if your oxygen goes out. Then the other, I wanted to sort of switch back to your father. And growing up on Reunion Island, I found myself Googling and, comparing Curaçao, Bonaire, all my childhood. And I wonder if you can talk about what it does sort of to your fantasy, how it relate. So the first thing is like your relationship to your father specifically and the water. If you can talk a little bit more about that and how that influenced you, both in free diving, and then I want to ask a follow-up question.
Yeah, my father was my guide into the water. He was really passionate about this free diving, this spear fishing. So when I started, for me, holding my breath was a tool to experience the underwater, to know more the underwater, to learn to catch a fish and to know all the fishes. And it had transformed when I started pure free diving as free diving was not a tool anymore, it was the goal. So thanks to my father, I mean, because as I said, free diving is really an internal sport. It's like a meditation. It's this thought about yourself. You are in the element, you have to know it, but you don't really see it. And my father also taught me the other side of, you are here also to experience and to see and to open your eyes. And that's why I switched to filming and I quit competition, because at some point I was not, I wanted to come back to what my father taught me, and just be in the water, with the water, and just not for a goal.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. I wonder, you live in actually, should we continue with the films?
Yeah, maybe.
A few more minutes and then we can go on to the other.
Okay, because I have all these questions, and I'm sure the audience has a question. Yeah, but you can go on. I was just then when you started dancing, can you talk a little bit more about your dance background besides your mother? Because clearly you were a dancer too, and how do you feel that dance from a space, when you translate it to the water, how does it change? Because we know water ballet, people do the things, and it's not that. It's really a whole other thing that you're doing, and it's innovative also.
So it's completely the opposite, actually, because when you are dancing on land, you just want to quit the floor and to go up. And when you underwater, it's the opposite. I mean, you are fighting to stay grounded, and you have to have your centre de gravité, gravity center, really low, And and this is how you work on your balance, I guess, also on land, but even more underwater. And what's funny also is that you dance with the element, because when you do that movement, it's bringing you somewhere else. I mean, it's going to take me over there. So it's like rock climbing also. It's like the rock is telling you what to do. Underwater is also that. I mean, the element is a teacher much more than on land, that you don't really feel it.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful. I think I'm going to save all the other questions for later. I want to, if there anything else, because we're doing 2 more films. They're short, and yeah, then we can talk some more. Because I think seeing all of it and then put it together, and we can come back to this other film too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please enjoy the rest.
Yeah. So I've seen them small, and I've seen, I think, 4 before. I find it weirdly emotional, the films, all of them actually. And this the third one, when we were watching that, and he is one breath around the world, I feel myself watching and wanting to come up for air. I don't. Anybody else experience that? You're like, kind of that feeling, and that sort of that whole feeling stays with you. And you filmed it. You filmed this one on breath. Incredible. Just the whole, all the camera shots, what you did with it was just every single moment. I can going on and on about it. And of course, I want to just ask, where is that first place underwater, this incredible place, the building place?
I know. It's in Japan. It's the last island in the south of Japan. And nobody really knows whether it's natural or it's handmade, like human-made. So it's a bit like the Atlantic. We don't really know what that place is, but to witness it for real, it's amazing, because it's one of the best visibility I ever experienced. And to see it looks, I mean, I don't know what to say about this place. What is my feeling about it, whether it's natural or human-made, because it's so straight and you can see some stairs. So it's really special to be there. South of Japan.
Yeah, thank you for taking us there, because it really feels magical. It feels also scary. It has this, also because of this one shot when he sort of goes in it, and then you end up in these other rocks, and then you're in another place, right? And I love the editing of this also. So the way everything keeps on moving, so it does feel like you swim with, and that's why you have to come up for air somewhere else. So that was just, I mean, it was beautiful in the first and the second, but then in this one specifically, because of the duration and because of the depth, it's really deep and dark. I felt super claustrophobic under the ice. Oh my God, can we talk about that? I was like, that was a moment I was like, oh my God, out, I need out. So where was that? And that was cold.
It was in Finland. It was cold.
It was cold. It was cold. How long did that take?
We had a sauna van by the really close to the lake.
Yeah, the sauna. Yeah, because I was like, there's no way you can do that.
I want
barefoot.
a sauna van home now. It's a van, and the back of the van is a sauna.
The back of the van is a sauna?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And
Yes.
when you go diving, they drive the sauna van to where you're going to dive. And it's just magical, because we were going there. We could spend like 20 minutes in the cold water. I think it was 2 degrees. And then we go with the wetsuit. We were jumping in the sauna van warm up and jump back again. And this is the only way we could do that.
Yeah.
Because Guillaume had to wear the same suit, whether it was in Mauritius Island, so 32 degrees, and here in Finland at 2 degrees.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah,
quite difficult for him.
Yeah, as you know, I'm a filmmaker too, so I have all these questions like, how did you get the continuity? How do you have the same suit and it looks as if it's one thing? But so now you told me that. And then how did the camera hold up? What camera was it? And how did it hold up with the different temperatures?
It's A7 R2, it was at that time. And that camera doesn't like the cold too much.
Right, that's what I wondering.
Yeah.
I was like, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean,
didn't
just
like-
we're losing the battery very fast. We just have to change the battery.
Right.
But apart from that, we have never had any problem on set for like technical issues, because I work with small cameras, of course, because I'm on breast hold. So I need to carry the camera up and down and all day. So I cannot use like big reds.
That was a Sony, what is it?
Yeah.
Sony had a
Yeah. For Amma, it's a Red Monster 8K, amazing. But because my DOP is on scuba, so yeah.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. And then, of course, can we talk about the whales and the sharks? So first, it's really also as for sort of a narrative of the film, when you go from this one building to the other, and so and then discover like Alice in Wonderland almost when you come, and then you're under the ice. There are the sharks, and where is that? And how was that to swim with the sharks? And when I was scuba diving once, I had sharks and I panicked. I went off, so I was really thinking, huh?
Sharks are nice.
No, I know that. Yeah, I know
it's
that
okay.
doesn't shark. Yeah.
So it's in French Polynesia. The sharks. It's in between two islands, so there's a lot of current, and the sharks, they come together here. They're really nice sharks. Yeah, I mean, I've been around sharks a lot, and I think the most what's more scary is the idea of seeing a shark when you're in the open water and you're like, oh my god, you look around. Even me, I mean, you're like, oh, I don't want to see the shark appear. But when it's here, it's here. I mean, they're okay, you know, they swim, you can see they swim really slow and they're very nice. There's no problem with sharks.
And then the whales, which were just, I mean, made me cry. I mean, it's just so emotional to see so many whales. And then also I was wondering when they were up, and how was it to film? Like, I mean, for me watching it was very, anybody else felt it so powerful to see the whales, right? Because you don't see whales and then see a human with the whales, and the whales so comfortable with you being there, with you two being there.
Yeah, the whales are sleeping when they're like this.
Oh, they're sleeping. Okay.
They're sleeping, and nobody really was able to film them, because when you go on scuba, you make a lot of noise, and they awake and they just leave. And the power of our image is that we are part of the family. I mean, we are mammals underwater, and we don't make sound. We don't scare them, and this is why we could really approach them. And it was at the end of the trip, we were expecting for that shot, but you know, hey, what a chance to find sleeping whales, like it's sperm whales. It was much more flybys at the beginning, but at the end we could spot the sleeping whales. So we jump in the water really carefully, and we approach them, and just because there was like, we don't only see two, but there was like 8 of them sleeping. It's like you don't even want to film. It's like, whoa, this is so beautiful. And so then we had to approach, and then Guillaume had to go behind the whale, dive and cross, and we were like, whoa, it is not moving. Actually, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that just, when I first saw it, it blew me away, and I think it even blew me more away seeing it now. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, even I've never seen that, and also the movement, like the composition of it. So now you say like you go behind it, and we talked earlier a little bit about how the camera works. So I was very aware of you in the water filming, and yeah, I really thank you for that, because it also you really as a filmmaker feel that you're a diver, a dancer. To me, watching, I think that's what gives the experience, because you're not an observer when you're filming, you are part of it. And I think therefore you make us part of it. And that particularly was so beautiful. Really, really thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the end, which is incredible when you see the houses, the storytelling perspective, right? When you see the people at the beach and they're there. And where was that, the last shot? Because I know you've
It's in Nice, south of France.
south of France.
Home.
Oh, so you did the Nice, yeah, that's your home.
We left home and come back
Come
home.
back home, yes.
And experiencing all the beauty of around the world underwater.
Can I ask you, like the research, did you knew which places you wanted to go to beforehand? How long did it take you?
It was a 6-month trip. We went with our daughter, and we just went, we did a road trip. We didn't want to go back and forth, and it was just a family trip and a whole experience. And we picked several places, but for example, in the Philippines, where you have this lake with all the like a cathedral underwater, this is Barracuda Lake. I love that place. It's amazing because the water at the surface is 32 degrees, so it's very warm, but it's volcanic under. So when you go down, it's getting warmer.
Oh, so weird.
It's so weird. And if you go really deep, you can burn actually.
Wow.
But it's such a strange feeling to dive down, and it's just get warmer and warmer. And you go, and I was sitting there and in a bathtub, at like 37, 40 degrees. It's really strange.
That's so strange, because I don't know if you swim, but you bring the more, everybody knows, like you go down, it gets colder normally. So yeah, it's incredible. I can talk about that one a lot. Maybe we can shift to the last one, which is your latest. You finished it this year, and then I go back about asking about editing and stuff, if we can, or open it. But so that one is upside down, and so there are a lot of. Where was that filmed? The last one.
Still in that same pool in Y40.
Oh,
but
okay.
We use a complete different set, a complete different light. And actually, the pool is crossed by a tunnel where you can walk. So you walk underwater and you can see the pool from inside. So you're walking and you are inside the pool. So there's a bridge, and we shot everything under the bridge. So I'm actually standing upside down under the bridge, and we just flip the image. So everything is filmed upside down. And that's why when I blow bubbles, it's going up. It's going down and not up. So it feels very strange at first. It's like, how come the air is coming from up to down?
Yeah.
That's weird.
And then the little square thing.
Yeah. So what is it? What is a square? What is a mirror?
I couldn't figure it out.
It's an air bubble. Actually, it's an
Okay.
air bubble, and this is why I can play with it.
Mhm.
And we didn't plan it, actually, this
You
air
didn't?
bubble. No.
You didn't.
When we arrived, there was all the set. It was very special. It was during COVID confinement, and my friend told me, let's go to Y40 and have this idea, and we can spend a week and we figure out what to do. So he's putting the setting, and he's scuba diving, and he's under the bridge. And there's like a window. So when you're walking in the tunnel, you can see also down, and there's an air pocket. And all the air gathered into that window, and we saw appearing the mirror, and we said, whoa. And we thought about Narcisse. You know, Narcisse is the story about that guy that fell in love with himself, and this is where we started to put the project together. Okay, what are we going to say about it? And it's really about how we can change perspective on life and on everything. Normally, Narcisse is just drowning in its own image, but here in the movie, it's just flying up. So if you can switch the way you see things, you can see it different and make dark light, light dark, and from what we're facing, you know, like sex extension, global warming, and all of this. Maybe it's time to see it like a good warning and use it to make a change about that. We have the chance to be this generation that will make a change.
Yeah, really. I wrote a lot of things down, which I'm not probably going to get to, but some of them I know. But there was even the walking, when they're walking on the running under the water. Was that with weights?
No,
No?
but no, because I'm upside down. If I put weight, I go down. So I actually had to inhale a lot so I could float. So I could float.
Oh, okay,
up.
Yeah.
And then to drown, to go down.
Yeah.
So to go up at the end of the movie, I had to blow air so I can sink.
Yeah.
It's all the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time in my life underwater trying to do things, and a lot of the dancing stuff, and you know, so I'm just, some of those things I'm really figuring out, okay, what are you doing? How do you do that? So that was really fun. I'm going to open up the questions before I go through my whole list. So over there, yes.
Come here.
Hi. First of all, I haven't watched anything so visually stunning and moving in a long, long time. So thank you so much for that. And it is as beautiful to hear you talk about films and water and everything. I just wanted to ask, so music is a very, very big part of your films, right? Because there is no dialogue. And I think the part of like we feeling so moved is because of the music as well. So I just wanted to hear you, how do you decide, especially in the One Breath Around the World, there are so many shifts and in the music as well. So I just wanted to hear you talk about like, how do you choose that and decide?
Thank you. Was one on my
Yeah.
list too, but
Yeah.
I've nobody done yet.
The music is 50% of a movie, you know. So mostly I think about the music ahead sometimes of the project, because the music is touching me the way I would love the film to touch people. So this is where I start. And for One Breath Around the World, we work with a composer. We completely composed the music. Yeah, and we used as a reference. I don't know if you could hear it from Interstellar. That music had been used a lot, and you know, it's really that feeling of being in a pesanteur in the you know, feel part of the universe, and that music is really bringing that. So we used that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then of course there were the live sounds, the sounds of the bubbles and the breathing that you mixed in with it, which really worked to that. Are those sounds like, did you use when you were doing the sound mix? Did you record with the live sounds and then you use them later, or did you just record the sounds of the breathing separately?
No, we record the breathing separately, and we cannot record the sound underwater with the housing.
Yeah, I
So
wondered about
just,
that. Yeah.
we just built. This is something I learned also, that in the mix you use music, but you also have the sound design. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that.
I'm big on
And-
sound design.
And
Yes.
it's really making a big difference, the sound design. It's making it more alive.
Yeah.
Only music, it's emotional, but it's not as strong. especially with the small details of bubbles and all of this, footstep and.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And then that's also that's one of my pet peeves when I'm in film or my own films is always record live sound if you can or have live under it, because even if you hear the music, part of why it resonates with us, there is the sound of the water and the bubbles and everything underneath the music. If you see it again, then you can hear that. So it makes you feel more because you feel you're more inside the film than if it was just music. So that's really beautiful.
And what I still think it is amazing, it's how a movement can tell a story. Because I feel like a lot of people understand what I'm trying to do to say in these movies. I don't say anything. It's just music, it's just composing, it's just body language. And it's international. And I think it's really beautiful about underwater. You don't need to talk, you don't need to have the same language. We have body language for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What are you? Can you talk a little bit about if you have plans for other films before I go to other? If you have other ideas, yeah.
Yeah. I have this very beautiful project about trying to bring awareness around plastic pollution into the ocean, but also trying to make it a bit fun. So the story is about a dancer, of course, that is representing the soul of the ocean and humanity. And she's, of course, underwater, dancing on the floor. And there's like seagrass and beautiful lights and fishes, and she's like enjoying this beautiful environment. And she's walking, and as she walks, she sees a trash, so she picks it up and she's continuing. And as she goes along, she takes more and more trash, and she finishes to end up in a dump, underwater dump. And as she's taking the last, like trying to take the last bit of trash that she can, she's awaking a giant that is made of plastic. So all of this is going to be shot for real. So we are working on the costume. It's going to be a scuba diver wearing a costume. It's going to be 3 different costumes. So at the beginning, the giant will be quite thin and move quite well, because when we started, plastic was fabulous. We love plastic. We still love it, but it was really a great innovation. And as we are like using it, the giant is getting bigger and bigger, and she's starting to feel a threat. So she's not dancing anymore. She's fighting against the giant until it came so big that it's just like engulfing her. And then, of course, I'm not finishing like this. All of a sudden, from the surface, all these humans come down, walk down, and just each of them grab a part of the giant, a part of plastic, and free the soul of humanity and free humanity. And it's just like small movies to come to the point that we alone, we cannot fight, but if we all make a gesture, if we all make something, it makes a very big difference. So it's really time for that.
Yeah, it really is. I can't wait to see that. Okay, do we have more questions in the audience? I know I want to just, Jody Sperling also is filmmaker, works with environment for years in the Antarctic, and is, and I emailed her to come today because she also recently started doing free diving, right?
I did a workshop with Project Lim in Sicily, and free diving and dance. It was incredible. And I just want you to know, there was a number of people in the workshop, and several of them cited you and Amma as the inspiration for their movement into this new element. So you really inspire people in many ways. So I want to thank you. I I want to make, and brava for breath hold on one breath. That was incredible.
Thank you so much.
I also want to say what I loved seeing, even though I've seen the films before, I love seeing them in a collection because you can really see a trajectory in your work, and it really, and how you're growing and the vision is expanding. And what was amazing is how this concept that was very literal of hallucination from Narcose, like, just explodes in your work as a kind of dreamscape, and particularly with One Breath, and how it's moved you into environmentalism. And I was going to ask you what is next. And we're excited to see that work. But other than expressing deep appreciation for your oeuvre, I would also just ask if you have advice for a dancer entering the water and training who didn't have a spearfishing father. Because what I found is, having danced, I don't think of it as dancing on land. I think of it as dancing on air. It's like you're dancing in air. Okay, here's my question. And water. I never got to the bottom in that way. And I'm so interested that you're really, that on all your work, that you're concerned with the floor and the bottom. When you're in the ocean, you have experience of the surface as being the floor. So maybe you could talk about that just for a moment, aesthetically and physically.
Okay, where to start? Yeah, as I said, to me, bringing dance underwater needed me to use the floor, because nobody danced in the air. My mother was a dancer, so I was dancing a lot until I was 15. And I was doing a lot of that, like in mid-water movement. This is movement. When it comes to dance, and this is why I never said I'm a dancer, because to me being a dancer is meaning a lot, and I'm not a dancer because on land I'm not a real dancer. But when you put me in the water, ooh, there I fly, there I'm in my element, because I know exactly what my body does underwater. And I think it's because I have a big background on land and I have a big background in the water. And that's why it's very difficult. And a lot of people are asking me, do you give underwater dance class? I said, I don't know how to teach it. It's so difficult. I don't know where to start, actually. But I would love to try to work around. I think we should take professional dancer, professional free divers, be locked for a week in Y40 and just try to exchange. And okay,
I'm there, and I'm also filming and dancing.
You as a dancer, what are you missing to be able to stay down? And on the other side, you as a free diver, what are you missing to be graceful and to use the element for your movement to be beautiful? So it's really interesting. I think there is a new, a new art around that could be brought and worked on.
Yeah, I think you definitely sparked that. And so I actually, when I would go under the water, and I don't dare to call it free diving, but just with my snorkel, and I would go under, and the whole thing was who could stay sleeping on the bottom of the sea the longest. I've never made it more than 10. I think 10
meters?
Yeah, well, pretty deep. Yes,
yeah, it's okay.
I've gone pretty deep. Yeah. And yeah, so I think about that. And I didn't tell you, I was part of a dolphin show when I was little. and we would have to hold breath. So we would jump in the water and hold on to the dolphin and go to the bottom of the sea. Not that deep, you know, we were little, so it was, we think it was really deep. But I had a question about ears. I didn't see, well, he had the cap, you don't see anything in the ears. I find, and especially if I got older, my ears start bothering me a lot, like both water going in and just hurting from the pressure sometimes. How do you deal with that?
Okay. So equalization, okay, you can experience that when you put your head in the water. You have pressure building in the ear. You have to fight against this pressure. It's just your tampon. Tampon is arching in the wrong side. So you have to push air, and so it stays always flat. Okay. So you do this, and you bring the air. Guillaume and me, we have a special gift. We don't need to equalize like this. We just we know how to use the muscles that open and leave the air comes in the ear. So this is helping a lot me. It's helping me a lot for filming, because I don't need to do that. I can go to 50 meters like this, holding my camera, not needing to equalize. And it's also very soft, because you put air all the way going down. On the image, people don't even realize, okay, he doesn't equalize, that guy. He does, but it's just a special technique. So what we always teach for free diving is that you always have to anticipate. Don't wait to feel the pain. It's too late, because it means your tampon is too far, and you need to put too much pressure to put it back. So as soon as you go down, you equalize, and every meter you equalize, not waiting for the pain. You should never experience pain. If you have pain, it's too late. You come back up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Next time. Do you have other questions here? Yes, in the back.
Yeah, come.
Hello. Yeah, I really loved your films. They were all really touching. I found myself crying at the end of, in the second one, I think the breath.
Dancing?
The breath around the world.
Oh, the breath around the world, yeah.
Yes. Several things about it, and then a question. I mean, when he gets out of the water, like being out of this world where everything is, I dare say, a little bit alien to us, and steps out into this touristy landscape. It's so touching. And there was this one moment when, I mean, because I'm used to the perspective of you with that camera under the water, when he's getting on land, it takes me like a second too late to realize that it's a drone, that it's no longer a person
I know.
hovering. There's this ability is lost. I like the transition from the animals to out of the water just like make me cry. I guess my question is, I just wanted to know what you learned about working with light underwater, since, I mean, if you shoot up, the light of the sun is there, but if you shoot down, everything becomes absorbed and black. So the cuts between the shots are maybe even tough to meet in the middle, because the perspective is so different. I'd just like to know maybe what you learned about working with light underwater, and maybe how that has transitioned to working with light generally, maybe like in a pool as opposed to the ocean in water.
Okay,
I love that question.
I can rephrase.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, what have you learned about working with light underwater, specifically in the Breath Around the World?
Okay. There's no extra light in one breath around the world. It's only natural light. It's what I prefer to work on, because it's really beautiful, and you can play more with the time of the day where you are filming. And for the difference of the light, you just have to play with aperture a lot, and you have to think before you what shot you're gonna do. So this to this on that, like a lot of light to low light or low light to high light, and you have to put your aperture in between. Yeah, you have no choice because you cannot change it during the shot. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, and I'm going to go on the light thing a little bit because I was also thinking, do you do test shots before you shoot? Because sometimes also there is light, so there is shadow, and so the shadow of the camera you never see. So do you try before? Like how do you rehearse that, or is that just?
We know how to place, so the camera, the shadow of the camera is not in there. It was very challenging for Jacques, for Ama, because when he's doing impro and I'm dancing, he's like, he comes up and
and Sebastian, that one,
he knows and he can feel if I go too up, I'm gonna see my shadow, so he's moving. But sometimes it's just in the shot, and so we don't take that shot.
Right.
But he needs to think. He always knows where the light is coming from, and he's really aware of that. And for when I shoot, usually I don't have that problem because in open sea, we don't see so much shadows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have to say that I love all the other shots, but I really prefer when you film it. I really love the filming you did. Like I loved everything, but I really love your filming. Thank you. And the dancing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I bring, because I'm underwater, I am like a drone. It's exactly what the question. I mean, it's so weird because you feel like you're a drone underwater, and then outside the water, no, you cannot be a drone. I cannot film and fly. And this is what's special, and this is why I love filming on breath hold, because it gives me so much freedom, and I can like move around, and and the viewer can feel that. And I think it is what gives also emotion, and this is why you intend not to breathe during the movies, because you are like as if you were also in the water, different that scuba diver being really still and watching, the person underwater. No, I'm underwater with you. I'm showing what it feels to experience the water.
Yeah, that's good. I don't want to take too many questions because I'm going to go down the deep end literally with the questions about filming and shadows and light and how this take was done on that take. Should we take one more question? No, we're good. Okay, Last question.
Yeah, please.
Good evening, hi, I'm Frida. Wonderful films.
Thank
you
you.
for sharing your art and your passion and your beauty. I love that you dedicated, Alma, you said to your tiniest daughter.
Take your mask off or get closer or both.
I'm coming over a cold, so I'm just trying to be careful. You dedicated the film to your daughter, and I was wondering, was that experience like? You said you went around the world with her, and how she perceives your films, if she's old enough to see them, and is she interested in all the water and the dancing? And
yeah, of course. My daughter she's 10 now, and she grew up like in the water with us. And it was funny. We tell that story, but when she was 3 months with Guillaume, we said, yeah, we're going to take her to swimming, baby swimming, and she's going to become a mermaid. And we put her in the water, and she was like, she hated it. And we said, oh no, my God, we made a child that doesn't like the water. What are we going to do? But we let her. And it's only when she was 3 that she put a mask on, and boom, this is what she discovered the underwater, and she really enjoyed it. But we didn't push her. Even we were like, oh my God, what is she going to do? She's going to be a lawyer. No way.
Yeah. I remember that.
Sorry, maybe there's lawyers. It's okay.
Sorry if there were lawyers. I remember that moment with my daughter too. Like she didn't like the sand in the beach, and then she didn't like the water, and now she loves snorkeling and swimming and all of it. So yeah. Thank you so much. It was
Thank
really,
you so
really
much.
amazing.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to thank you, Julie, for sharing these beautiful movies with us. Thank you so much, Gabri, for talking with Julie and sharing your own experience. And I'm hoping that this will be the start of a wonderful collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
And that maybe you can come back, or maybe Gabri and other dancers, dance teachers, choreographers can join you in Y40 or somewhere else.
Are we going to do the tank thing, right?
Right, the tank thing, yeah,
like
yeah.
learning how to, that is like a given. Chisa will join too, I'm sure. Yeah, no, amazing. I don't know if I can stay that long. I mean, I would have to learn all the ear stuff, but yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah. Thank
Let's
you
do
so
that.
much.
Thank you so much.